one of these days, I'm going to start off Tech Off Topic absolutely on time. And you know what? It'll have some intro music and some random jazzy crap like that. But you know what? This is an award winning professional podcast, and that's never going to happen. So, hello and welcome to 2024, and this crap is starting again. And you're going to notice a difference in comparison to last time. There's no moody brumming, and that's because we've not got Jim Second anymore. And, grumpy old man is not necessary to make the world go round. That's not true. He makes the world go round, just slower and with a very, very terrible accent. Actually, he doesn't have it because the silver spoon lodged very firmly in his asshole. But yes, we have somebody else starting it off. Once again, PHP fanboy, as you'd expect, and a brummy, surprisingly. And I'm going to drag him in and we're going to start chatting crap. And we actually have some bullet points to do all this, except I'm wondering how prepared he is with any of the topics. So, anyway, dragging him in and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Ollie, and I'm not a brummie. I will not stand for that slander. I live here. I'm from Worcestershire. It's
You've
different
lived
from
here longer than I have.
oh God, how long have I lived here? 8 years.
That's got to be
I've
longer
been in
than
Brum for
that. I
eight years. So no, I'm from Worcestershire, so I'm from Redditch down the road. But I was in London for a while. But I did used to come to Brum a lot.
was about to say the first time I ever met you was at a meetup in Birmingham. Many. Like I think it was a Hydra hack or something. Like back
Yeah,
2010 way. So it's like you've got to have been here.
I sometimes came up here. I got bored of London and people and independent coffee shops. So so I would come up to Brum to do stuff.
And now you live here?
But now so what happened? I was paying a lot of money, and I was like, this is a lot of money for a two-bedroom flat. And I was like, oh, I wonder what it's like in Brum. And I had a look, and it was a third of the price for a flat literally connected to Selfridges. I was like, yep. And I phoned my dad. Dad, I'm moving to Brum when this weekend. And he was like, all right, cool. And then that was it.
The
It
ADHD is strong with this decision
it's
making process.
it's a pretty, yeah. Oh, this looks fun. Let's just do this forever. Is generally, let's do this forever until it's not fun. Is generally how I live my life. To be honest with you.
Okay. And for those of you who are listening to this podcast rather than watching it, because turns out video podcasts are a thing, um, Ollie is recently moved into his into another new place. So this is not this is a reference to a actual new place, and the RGB is everywhere. There's the
Yeah.
rainbow octocat, which is so blown out, it's just white on camera.
You can't change the setting. I considered taking it apart to lower
I
it,
put a
but
resistor in or something just to drop the voltage.
yeah, but this here, this rainbow bar is, I believe, at 1% of its brightness.
I've given up trying to make the actual LEDs the right color. I just rely on the fact they make the room the right color.
I've got the same lights that are on the back of the unit behind me are all around the top of the room as well. So it looks like, if you drive past my house, it looks like a grow farm because there's just this glowing blue light emanating from this room, so everyone assumes there's some ultraviolet lights going on. It's not. I'm just playing Overwatch or coding. That's all it is.
But yes, so Ollie, actually introduce yourself properly because you do interesting things
Yeah,
on the internet.
I do. I do many things on the internet. So I am a PHP developer. Some of you may have seen me on the internet talking about things or arguing with people is a very common thing that I do. Um, I've done all sorts of stuff. It's hard to list. I do everything that I find interesting, which happens to be most things that I see. So it's hard to pick out specific things to say that I've done. I'm currently doing stuff with multi-tenancy. I've done a series of multi-tenancy tweets people might have seen. I do a lot of Laravel stuff because I like Laravel. And again, a lot of arguing with people. So it's
It's like, yeah, it's a thing. Like I've been dragged into at least one of these conversations. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. People specifically requested or asked me, "Will you be speaking about this?" I said, I don't think so.
No,
I
no,
think
no,
it
no,
might
no.
make matters worse.
But that, to be brutally honest, that is not the only internet argument you have got involved with.
It's absolutely not. I I would say I dislike people being wrong, which is not true.
You
I don't
love it.
mind people. I don't mind people being wrong. So the general motto that I live my life by is it's better to make an informed stupid decision than a misinformed stupid decision. I don't care that you've done a stupid thing as long as you understood that it was stupid beforehand. That's fine, unless obviously it's affecting me or it's affecting people like that. Then it becomes an issue. But my big one is when people are wrong and are telling other people as if they're not wrong. That's what bugs me. It's misinformation. That's where I get really annoyed, and I come in and I end up arguing back and forth with people on the internet, and then usually they stop responding, or I get bored because I see something interesting to do, and go and forget it happened, and then come back and there's a bunch of tweets because I went and wrote some code.
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty much what happens with me. It's like, I'm bored. It's either toilet scrolling Twitter or Instagram these days because reels are addictive. Get involved with something and then get on with the rest of my life and come back to it. Oh, that escalated when I wasn't pooping.
Yep, it's just I believe the topic that we are not allowed to talk about. Several times people messaged me and were like, "Have you seen what's going on?" I was like, "Oh no, I was building I had an idea for a Laravel package, so I was playing with that." And the mid conversation was just went from like an angry rant to, "Oh, this will be fun. Let's go and have a look at this." And people had to prod me and tell me to check Twitter.
Okay. I ignore most of those messages. I'm not going to lie. So, Ollie writes a lot of code. At this point, I'm strongly going to feel at some point he's going to become one of the first one-man army Laravel partners because like there aren't any of those at the moment. Oh, hello.
I've broke my camera because it's not going to come back, is it? Apple has this stupid feature where if I put my thumbs up, it does this stupid bubble. I don't know if you can see it, if it's
I
still there.
turn that off.
How do you turn that off? Because it constantly
It's
breaks my
a
camera.
little green thing at the top, and then you can see the reactions, and you just toggle it off.
Oh my God. I have been searching for that for a while. Is this going to just repeatedly?
As somebody who uses multiple Macs to do his job and has 3 webcams to do the streamy thing, I had to learn quickly because it was breaking stuff and also just looks terrible. It's almost as bad as the Microsoft Teams version, which is awful, by the way.
It's just apparently this is just going to be it for forever now. So this is just the image.
It's like
Okay.
it's Ollie freeze framed.
The best thing is the particular reaction it's picked and the facial expression that I have. Just they don't go together whatsoever.
Well, you could try just switching to because you're using a MacBook, if I remember correctly.
I am, yes.
Switch to the MacBook camera unless you're using that right now, and switch back.
Okay.
We do this in production, everybody, because we are freaking professionals.
Yay, it's back.
There we go. And you should be able to. You may have to double check and turn off the reaction again because I think it's per camera.
No, it's off.
Beautiful.
It's using the cam link. The
Ah,
cam link
yes.
4K, which I think is why it freezes.
I have the same thing because I have my cam link, which is not the 4K, hooked up to a GoPro to do it.
Okay.
This is the reason why, because I cannot, for some odd reason, color correct my GoPro correctly, which is why I'm looking mildly Donald Trump.
I've got
Elgato lights.
Yes, big square boom.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like there's nothing that will quite destroy any confidence you have in your image, like two big massive lights in your face and a 4K camera in front of you.
Enhance, zoom in, find out where the
Oh,
imperfections are.
it's yeah. I have very sensitive skin, and I always forget because I don't see my face that often. It's
I go for
you know
every
you
day
do
without seeing a mirror.
like I don't see a mirror, but look at my hair. It's I don't need to look in a mirror. It's just you just sort of go, and then there you go, done. Very Tim Mitchin.
If people didn't realize that Tech Off Topic was tangential as heck, they are now. Okay, right. I'm going to drag us back into the world of tech, but off topic.
Yes.
Mainly because it's something that you do, and you've already mentioned it, which is Laravel multi-tenancy.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to bring this up because I think you're stupid.
Okay. It's an interesting way to start the conversation.
Because of the fact that multi-tenancy is such a what's the best way of describing it? Such a ridiculously problem-based solution for how you do it. Like the perfect way of doing it is you're meant to have a completely different database for everybody, so there's complete data segregation just in case there's a leak in it. However, most SaaS applications just end up having like a team key so you can only look at your stuff. And then you've built a plugin which has opinions. Well, you're building a plugin which has opinions.
So, two problems. One, the reason I'm doing this, and the reason, because I'm also working on a course, and the reason I'm writing this, quite a lengthy description of the theory and the concept of multi-tenancy, is one of the massive misconceptions is that you need separate databases. But you don't need separate databases. If you're using Postgres, you can use row-level security and essentially do it that way and have everything. Foreign keys are fine. It depends what the purpose of your application is. And the package that I'm writing, I wouldn't say it's opinionated to a degree, but it does everything. And when I say everything, it does all of the different options. It supports all of the different structures of your database. It supports having different users, different logical databases. I was playing with writing a driver that will even connect to something like AWS and create a database instance if that's what you require. DNS validation. Sometimes even DNS. I looked at the idea of having DNS propagation, having it automatically update things so you could sell domains if you wanted. So the idea is to provide as many of the options and as many different configurations as you want, because the two or the three big ones at the moment are insanely opinionated and in several instances wrong. So the big one, tenancy for Laravel, you cannot have tenant-aware dependencies in your controller constructors. This is because it uses middleware, which happens after controllers are instantiated, except you need them instantiated to collect the middleware, and you need a root to know whether you need a tenant. There's an event in Laravel. It's undocumented. It's called root matched. I tweeted about it, and it will tell you that a root has been found and it happens before the middleware, and that is the best place to identify a tenant. And there's loads of versions and several years, and no one cracked onto this, and it really did my head in. So I started building this out to support as many options as you want. Multi-tenancy is actually a ridiculously vague thing, but there's a lot of misconceptions that it is this hyper-specific thing. There's multi-tenancy as it existed in the 90s and early 2000s, but with the advent of cloud computing, the definition has changed quite a bit. There's
Hang on,
thing that I'm writing.
Because multi-tenancy used to be back then was essentially shared resource VPC style reseller accounting.
So early 90s, it was like time sharing.
That's
the predecessor to multi-tenancy.
Yes.
And then it progressed, and people created multi-tenanted applications running on central servers, and then people moved to multi-instance, but with cloud computing, people have moved to it's essentially a modern version of time sharing. When you think about it, the way the SaaS applications work, it is just a modern version of time sharing. And it's one of those things where the definition has slowly changed over time. If you look at the Wikipedia definition, that's the definition of multi-tenancy when it was defined. Whereas if you look at Cloudflare, IBM, or Red Hat, their definitions are more modern. They're more in line with online software in the browser and cloud computing and things like that. So there's a lot of flexibility in it, and I don't think people realize how flexible it is. And also the fact that Laravel comes with the base to do almost all of the stuff, but a lot of it is undocumented, so it's hard to find it. You have to know it exists to use it.
Right. One, that is a bad idea to wrap it all around an internal undocumented event, because what happens when they change the event and rebuild it?
So it's undocumented in that it's not in the documentation, but they can't remove the event because it is used by a lot of things. So that would require a large version upgrade. It would break Telescope, I believe, and a lot of other things. It's a event that exists for login, and if memory serves, it's existed since 4.2. Around that time, so the event's been there for an extremely long time. I can find out exactly how long it's been there.
Let's put it this way, I couldn't even remember the current working version of Laravel.
10.
Okay, so that's existed through 6 major,
I believe it's been since 4.2. It's been there for a very long time. I've been working with Laravel since 4.2, and because I'm a masochist, read through sometimes I have an idea and I want to find out whether Laravel does it, so I just comb the source to try and find it, which is how I came across that event, actually. I just
why?
because I find something that does in the documentation that does sort of like what I want, and then I just track that, and then I search for familiar terms, and I keep going through. There's a separate thing that I'm writing. It's called the Definitive Guide to Laravel Root Parameters, because I figured out, you know how you can do root model binding, and you can do root model binding with a specific field to tell it to use a different model attribute to retrieve from the database. I figured out how to hook into all of that quite simply, actually, so you can have your own version of it without having to write the custom explicit bindings.
And ladies and gentlemen, coming to a Waterstones near you, a book that you will buy, read once, and never read again.
Most likely. I care a lot about people understanding and knowing things. That's my big thing. I want people to understand it. I understand loads of things that I don't need to understand and will never use in my life, but I collect understandings. That's like it's a thing.
I know nothing, and that is for a reason. I know nothing because I'm stupid and I stand on the shoulders of giants. Thank you for being one of those giants.
You're welcome. I don't know. I like knowing things, and I like it when other people want to know the things. It's nice to have someone genuinely interested in the thing, and then I get to explain it and go through it. And it's like when I said that you would talk about multi-tenancy, my fiance asked if you had a shut the fuck up Ollie alarm that you could just press, because I would spend 2 hours talking about multi-tenancy.
It's fine. I have I'm very, very loud, very, 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 very obnoxious, and I also control the button that removes you from the stream.
Oh yeah, of course there is also that.
So I'm not that worried. But it's yeah, I'm waiting until you actually release the full 1.0 version of the plugin, because I want to see how it works. Because it's tens of tweets now, not quite hundreds, but tens of tweets on the subject. And it's a case of it's alluding to a lot, but not saying anything specific.
So the actual repository that I'm working on is public, so anybody can go have a look. There's, I think, 5,000 lines of code in there, or something like that so far, and I have only done the base part. A lot of it is it's supposed to work seamlessly, The idea is that you
Bullshit.
do minimal to get it to work. So adding a
That's where
middleware
opinions
layer,
come in.
not necessarily, because you can configure it. It comes with a standard configuration, but you have the choice of. Well, you don't even have to use Eloquent. It's not hard coupled to Eloquent. You can use a database driver. It has support to use anything else. You can identify. There's a thing called an identity resolver that is sole job is to take a Laravel HTTP request and retrieve the tenant's identity from it, their tenant's identifier, which is used to load a key through a tenant provider.
Okay, now this is where it gets into a bit of a mess because as somebody who's done a lot of white labeling before previously, which is like the bastard child of proper multi-tenancy.
Yeah.
It's kind of multi-tenancy, but it's kind of not.
Yeah.
And so I've done enough of that to realize that hang on, there's a few big hole problems. And the database, that's the single largest problem, is maintaining data consistency as well as data like security, aka can't accidentally bleed information from one tenant to another, because even if you have separate databases, people, if you're using a multi-tenant system, there will have to be a database in the middle that glues them all together. That's literally how applications work. But that then brings into a huge thing, which is operational data stores, Postgres, MySQL, MariaDB, insert operational data store. That's fine. The problem is they're not designed to do certain things. For example, if you want to do recommendation stuff, you need to use graphs. Now, graphs are notoriously hard to do tenancy stuff in because they are designed to link as much stuff as possible to each other. And the next one is fucking search indexes.
So
how to manage search indexes.
That is doable. It's so there's it's one of those ones where you are right, certain choices. So the course that I'm writing along with it, I've written tens of thousands of lines of explanation of various different things. And one of the key things in the first module, in the very first lesson, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. Lots of the very first lesson in the very first module says that throughout the course there are things that are mutually exclusive, and there are things that you will not be able to do if you make certain choices. So one of the big things is why I've now gone for a written version of everything in terms of the course is I explain these are the limitations of this thing. You have a choice between what do you need to do for your application to function in terms of the business, and what do you need for your application to function in terms of the application. So you have to, with any application, you have to make a choice about how to do it. And I try to give as much information about all the little bits, but obviously I can't, if I went into every single bit, like you said, search indexes in detail, it would be insanely long. But you are right. There are a lot of problems, but they are sort of satellite issues usually. To multi-tenancy, it depends how you implement it, and it depends on the choices that you make, and it depends on your understanding of both your implementation and the problem you need to solve.
Yeah. But still, it's just multi-tenancy situations where they're using a single operational database. There are so many things you have to take into account on top of that, because operational data stores are not designed to do ad hoc querying. Well, yes, they are designed to do it. You shouldn't be, because of tenants. It's the reason why there is literally a problem that is well documented called the noisy tenant issue.
Yep.
So yes, having worked for CouchDB as a DBAS provider and a logging solution DBAS it's a SaaS, but it's logging provider. Noisy neighbors cause lots of problems. Lots and lots of problems.
It's the best that I can do with it is to explain so what I do is I go through the concept of multi-tenancy as a sort of idea, the theory of how you would go about that, and then sort of a practical implementation of applying it. And the practical implementation typically is things like I show you how to identify via subdomain, domain, header, an element of the path, and those little bits to show you the different ways of doing things and the limitations that has. For example, you cannot generate a tenant specific link if you're identifying tenants in a HTTP header, because you can't provide headers in a link. Things like one thing which weirdly a lot of people have skipped is if your tenants have custom third-party domains, do not identify the tenant by the domain. Have the tenants have a subdomain and map the domain to it. Have an entry in the database. It hits the database, pulls it out for the domain, and says, "Oh, this is the tenant identifier," and then use that to identify the tenant, because it allows for when they inevitably cock up their DNS and can't access the site. And it also keeps things nice and simple. It's not messy when they change it, but people go straight for domains. But yeah, you're right. There are a lot of problems. Obviously, I can't make people build perfect systems as much as I would like to.
That rely on you always building a perfect system, and you, like myself, are a realist in that, like, nope, shit's broke.
Exactly. Also, I'm a contractor that's lately, almost exclusively for the last 4 or 5 years, been hired after the fact to come in and help refactor and re-architecture systems. So if I got everyone to build a perfect system, I wouldn't have a job anymore. So I would sort of do myself out of a job.
Now, before we move on from this topic, I'm going to ask something sensible. The multi-tenancy course, where is it going to be made available?
So it is going to be made available on the site. So it's something I started working on. It's
going to be on a
so,
site. You mean how everything works?
So as Oliver said, I started this a while ago, and a lot of things happened in my life, and there was a lot of personal issues, and then a lot of mental health issues, and then I finally had the time to pick it back up. Recently, over the time, I've been perfecting it, and then we got kicked out, so we had to move, and then I had to find work, and then Christmas happened. So it is something that I haven't put anything else out about, because I don't want to until I am certain I've got most of it sorted.
Oh, no, don't worry. This question is for future you problem, aka,
yeah,
are you going to be doing this as Coursera, a custom Ollie website, or?
Oh, it will be a custom thing. It will be similar to, if anyone's watched Aaron Francis's screencasting thing, similar concept to that initially. Eventually,
now, are you going to dog food it so people create their own tenant to follow the course?
So I considered that. There's lots of different places to go. I also considered in the future taking the concept and the theory and then doing a symphony one, if I can ever make myself work with symphony. But it's been like a bit of a source of an issue for me. Every time I go back to do it, I get really in my head that I've taken so long doing it. However, having looked at what I've done, it's so much better than the original version that I wrote. The piece that I have made now, the things that I have personally learned in that time, and the approaches that I have perfected have absolutely paid off, I think. And there's a lot more information, and because of the way it's split up, hopefully it will help people. So it's got the bits in there. If you just want to see how to build it and how that bit works, you can just read those lessons. But then there's also a couple of lessons before it that are sort of the in-depth explanation, and there's some UML diagrams and explaining the processes and the understanding. I fucking love UML. There's a UML book over here, actually, just underneath the GitHub thing.
You're one of those people that go, oh, you know what, Lucid chart, that's the way forward.
Nah, I use Mermaid JS. It's the only use for JS that I can get behind. But I got a whole book about it there. I don't like JavaScript. JavaScript is an elaborate practical joke that got really out of hand.
And PHP is the the naughty uncle that just won't disappear.
Apparently PHP's been dead for years, so I wouldn't.
Oh yeah, but we've also been saying that about COBOL. But when you realize that 40% of all banking transactions go through some form of COBOL system, it's like, oh.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the sterling recommendation of this. I don't think that makes COBOL look good. That just makes banks look shit. I think it's the.
Yeah, it's when you realize that like half of the neobanks still have to kick into like some form of antiquated appliance. It's like, Is this why we can't have nice things?
This is
We
why we
can't
can't have
actually
nice
fix
COBOL.
and move on.
Yes, COBOL is the reason we cannot have nice things. That's it. End of discussion. Let's leave it at that.
Oh God. Okay, right. You know what? I picked that topic of multi-tenancy because I warned you I was going to ask about it, and I wanted to get out of the way because I was quite sure that you were either going to talk forever or tell me to shut up.
Yep.
Right. So, have you got the running doc next to you?
I do, yes.
Which means you get to pick a topic. It doesn't have to be off there, but you do have to pick something. These are, as for people who have watched the podcast before, these are the poorly researched topics, so that we all, everybody watching goes, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. So I was actually looking through these. I have many opinions of many of these. I'm going to start with the Apple Watch. How Apple Watch to lose features after US court reinstates sales ban over patent dispute. So, if anyone's not familiar, Apple stole basically the technology and poached a bunch of employees to build the blood oximeter, I believe is the way it's pronounced. I've never heard anyone say the word
a
out
blood
loud.
oxygen sensor, I believe.
Yeah, to sense the oxygen level in your blood through Apple Watches. And they stole it off this company called Massimo.
Yeah.
And now I heard about this before and I read about it and I was like, that's shit. Apple, a company that big, stealing patents and stealing ideas, that's messed up. They can't be allowed to get away with that on principle. However, in reality, Massimo is worth 6.5 billion, so they can fuck off. Like it's a
this is like when Qualcomm soups. It's like, hang on. You have enough money to fix all the poor problems. Why?
Yeah, it's sure they are smaller than Apple in the same sense that Earth is smaller than the supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. It doesn't matter. Like
that is a your mum joke and a half to a tech company.
It is, but they're worth a lot of money, so fuck them. Because it's a technology that could genuinely be useful to people. Like I hold the opinion.
But in our capitalist society, this doesn't work.
Fuck capitalism.
You literally make money on capitalism.
Yeah, I know, and I don't enjoy it. I enjoy that. I like what I do, and a lot of the time, I forget that I'm working. As in, I do the work, but I'm just building this thing because it's cool and it's fun. And then,
don't worry, I'm aware that I am a lefty person that enjoys money.
I like. Not anymore. Look, I've already got all the stuff I like. It's behind me on the wall. Like I'm good now. It's sorted.
I'm not showing all the Gundam that I have procured over the years.
Oh, I have. You like about a foot away from the ceiling is the top of my pile of unassembled Gunpla here. I've got the entire Gundam Wing and Gundam Wing Endless Waltz kits ready to put together.
You've got the master grade ones?
Yes, these are all master grades. Hold on a second.
Right. I enjoy, like, I only got into model building because my friend dragged me into Warhammer and all that stuff, and I realized, you know what, I really like putting these things together, but painting, nah. But oh my god, Jesus, that looks like me when I every time I come back from Japan, I open a suitcase and I essentially walk around like that, going, where do I store these again?
That's not even including my Warhammer ones that I haven't put together. I have.
Jesus Christ, you truly are embedded into plastic crack.
Like I have been into Warhammer since I was a kid, around the same time as Gundams. Actually, I just haven't had the time to put them together. I've also actually got. Are you familiar with Brandon Sanderson?
No.
The author. He writes a series of books called the Stormlight Archive, which is the stack of white books there. And there was a Kickstarter. They did that model and a bunch of Warhammer style models of the characters in it and all sorts of things that you can paint. I've got a massive box full of them there. The Kickstarter order just came through.
Well, you're welcome to come with me on a Friday. There's a brewery in Birmingham called Burning Soul that I go to, and you know what I do if I finish work on time and stuff on a Friday? take a model and build it there because the owner is a
Ooh.
giant weeb like myself. So he just lets me just sit there in the corner drinking a beer whilst my mates turn up later, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm just building a.
That's a good idea. I've got stacks of there's Warhammer, Gundam, the Stormlight Archive stuff behind me. There's some Lego kits that need to be put together. There's this shelf here has Bleach and
Well,
Jujutsu Kaisen characters on it. I got also there's a Pokeball that glows over there, the shelf above me. Like,
yeah. I'm not talking about the foot tall opposable Yoshi I have in the corner right behind my screen.
I want a perfect grade Wing Zero.
That they don't even make that model anymore.
It was in Worlds Apart in Birmingham City Centre for ages, and every time we walked in, I would look at it, and I would just stand looking at it, and I would look, and Kerry, my fiance, would be going, would just be like, no, you have a massive stack. Put your other Gundams together. So
at least Worlds Apart still exists.
It's really good. I go in there a lot. I go and check on the Gundams every so often to see if there's any.
It's where I go to browse manga these days.
I do, but I'm not too much into manga. It gets to the point.
Oh no, I go to browse. I go to browse because I want to find out how many extra seasons there are of the current anime I'm watching. That's pretty much how I work.
Yeah, whether it's something.
Ooh, are there still books?
Yeah, so there's like I did that with Bleach. It finished, and I was like, "Oh, that's the end of Bleach." And everyone was like, "Oh no, the manga keeps going." And I was like, "Oh god!" And they're like, "It starts getting really dark," and it does.
Dark is the polite way of putting it. Oh god, no. We're not allowed to descend into that level of weebery. This is a tech podcast.
I can talk about as many topics as. There you go. Here's something totally unrelated. See this here? This is the whatever the word is for the audio profile of Under the Sea from The Little Mermaid.
Under the Sea.
Because it's as far as I'm concerned, it's I listened to it a lot as a kid. It was like the greatest thing.
Hang on, is it the Spotify audio profile of it or the?
This predates that. It's a present from my fiance actually. Like a lot of the stuff on my walls is a present from my fiance actually.
One of the presents I have is it was given to me, which is 3D printed one of these.
Oh, that's cool.
And I really, really want some of the Spotify waveforms just because I love the symmetry of them with the like it's up and down. I want some of those as some of my favorite tracks, which is ironic because like you can use those to actually scan the song.
Yeah, I was quite like that. There you go. I got a present as well. So this is a stamp that's the picture
It's your
me.
fucking face on a stamp. Ladies and gentlemen, Ollie has shown the pure levels of narcissism he has going on.
This was a present from my fiance. It's an Ollie approved stamp, which I very much enjoy. Stamping random things in the house to just say that I approve of it.
The only stamp I have is ironically on my desk with me at the moment, and it is this one, which says return to sender because I get the amount of junk mail to my apartment in other people's names. I have to have a stamp for it because it was making my hand tired.
I didn't know I need one of those. We get so much post. I assume before we lived here, 426, like every piece of post that we've got that's not addressed to us is a different person. And we've lived here for several months now, and it's just.
I've lived in my apartment for 5 years. I am the only person to have ever lived in this apartment because before I moved into it, it was a building site.
Oh.
And I still have to use this at least 5 times a day. At least. Welcome to the UK when fraud is real easy, even though we have a whole bunch of laws and systems to stop it.
Yeah, that's weird. I live here. Oh, I keep getting letters for people that are like.
You live in a place that's been around for a while, though, so like plenty of dead people's post.
Oh, there's probably dead people in the walls in this house. If I'm honest, it's an old. It's an old house. The fireplace the other side of this, when I first came, when we first moved in, the board was broken, and I was like, "That's fine, I'll replace that." And took the board out, and there's just a dead bird in the bottom of it. Like I say
What?
dead bird, there's a bird skeleton. It's been in
Oh,
there and dead for a while.
was that parrot pushing up the daisies?
Yes, yes, it was. It was very dead and it was very
I
gross, and I had to vacuum it
I
up.
am sorry, anybody from Gen Z and younger. That was a Monty Python reference.
Nobody gets Monty Python references these days.
But yeah,
Greatest,
okay.
greatest
So
comedy. But yeah, also fuck
Massimo
Apple
are
and
evil.
fuck that.
Apple is fucking evil. But I just love the fact that
Yeah.
like it's a whole thing over patents. And I'm like, mate, Apple, you have a literal litany of lawyers and freaking experts on this, and you missed the patent already existed. You think, nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to notice that we've done
It's
it.
it's one of those things. I think there should be a public patent of that people should be able to use. Things that will help people. Things that
Oh,
are
you mean like
of
how
genuine.
insulin is meant to work? Like how artificial insulin
Yes.
is meant to work? Except it
Yeah.
doesn't. It does everywhere but America.
Yeah, but everything works everywhere but America. Like America is built on things just not working and inconsistencies. Like America is like JavaScript. It's an elaborate practical joke that got really out of hand. That's what it is.
Why do I feel abused here?
It's America is, for all intents and purposes, in the way that London is unlike everywhere else in the UK. America is unlike everywhere else on this planet. Actually, that's not true. America is the sort of the personification of the worst bits of everywhere else on the planet somehow. I don't know how they do
Yeah,
it.
you're not
But
wrong. Yeah,
it's
you're not wrong.
they do
And this is
a
why I
lot of
refuse to
stuff.
move there.
They make the British Empire look not that bad in a lot of
What,
cases. So it's
what you
and
mean,
we
the
did some
current
bad
American
stuff.
empire?
Yeah, I think we should avoid that topic because that's going to start slowly edging towards the other side of the world, and that's not a topic that I think we should seek
How about we
uneducated about.
avoid geopolitics?
Yep, because I don't like anyone, no matter what country they're from. It's irrelevant.
All people suck.
Yeah, if they're from outside of this room, no, thank you.
Everything is from outside of that room, including your fiance.
Yeah, but she's allowed in this room, and the children are allowed in this room when they behave.
Fair dinkum. All right, I'm
That's the
gonna
sort of
pick the
world
next
Gundams
topic
and
so we
people
can
together.
move on from that one,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna avoid the one that's at the top because that makes me sad.
Which one is the one at the top? Oh yeah, it's another just capitalism. There we go. We've covered that one. Capitalism being capitalism. Next, ding.
No,
You
no,
got a soundboard.
I do. Oh, I'm building one, but not for StreamYard. Unfortunately, that's going straight into OBS for my normal streams because it includes the cursed word.
You need like a whole a radio show. You're tuning into the Off Topic Tech podcast, like and a whole bunch of different topics and things.
Oh God! All right, I'm gonna pick the Pothole robot.
Yes,
because I read this last week and I was just going, that sounds flipping genius, but also, how niche do you have to be to build a robot?
Yeah, like from reading that, the weirdest thing I took from it is we are just overusing the term AI. Apparently, we as a race haven't even mastered intelligence yet. Before we start doing the artificial version of it, like it's literally pattern recognition and a bunch of if statements. That's essentially what it is. It's not AI.
Isn't that AI by most like Fortune 500's reference?
It's like AI doesn't exist. As soon as AI exists, we don't exist. Done. That's how it's gonna work. But
Oh God, I nearly said something really offensive then.
I like the idea of inanimate things with jobs. I like that. I like inanimate things. I'm the person who will apologise to a door if I walk into a door, and I get sad if there's an item that has a purpose that isn't being used. So an animate object that's very like actively pursuing a purpose, I can get behind that. I like when things have purposes.
Okay. Right. So for those of you who don't live in the UK, if you don't drive down the motorway, the roads are pretty much terrible everywhere.
Yep.
Gloucestershire being a huge, Gloucestershire and Bristol and the surrounding area being one of those things. Unless it's not a motorway, they're terrible. And there's a bot built by by Robotics Robotize 3D in partnership with University of Liverpool. So there's actual scientists working on all this stuff. It's that smart, and they're working with a highways agency to build a bot. And you know what the best bit I like about this thing? It looks like what the Cybertruck should look like. It's just a silver rhombus shape.
It looks like something from Red Dwarf. It looks like Crichton's like escape pod is the best way I can describe
God,
it.
yeah, the angular
You open that and it's got all of his other heads in there. That's what it is. That's what it looks like.
I can jazz myself into. I can tune myself into Jazz FM. One of my favorite quotes in Red Dwarf ever.
I don't know if I could say any of my favorite quotes from Red Dwarf. I'm pretty sure they're all offensive.
We're going all the way to Brown Alert.
Yeah, I know one. There's a lot of things that you think back and you go, "Oh, that's funny," and you say it out loud, and you're like, "Oh, that has not survived the time. I should not."
Oh, that's me and everything about Austin Powers.
Or you're just like, "Oh, I actually understand truly what that means now, and I'm never going to say that again."
You know the horrible thing? When I do that, I still smirk because my brain still thinks like the 14-year-old child that learnt this stuff, and when it's still funny. It's just like I'm never saying this unless I am in a safe space. This is never leaving my brain.
So we've got a 13-year-old, and when she was like 11, we were like, "Oh, we were looking for a film to watch," and we were like, "Oh, we'll put on Ace Ventura. Ace Ventura's brilliant. We loved this when we were a kid." And it got to the first bit where he's bouncing, but it gets to the door, and we're just like, "Oh, fucking, let's go have dinner somewhere or something, or literally anything away from the TV. Let's just stop this. This is." This is so much worse than we thought it was, because now we are looking at it through the eyes of an adult, and he was not delivering posts. That's not what he was doing. Yeah. Doesn't stand the test of time. But pothole robots, cool. But also, could you have not spent the same amount of money on just hiring people to fill the bloody potholes?
Does it actually say how much they've spent?
I guarantee it's more than a team of people to fill potholes.
You'd be surprised at how expensive those people are. My cousin used to be one in Staffordshire, and their standard rate, because they would only do this work at night and stuff. It was all.
This is dangerous.
Yeah, it's all double time, and it's like, so how much are you getting paid? Yeah. It's like, I walked home with like a grand after last night. It's like, I'm in the wrong fucking career.
Yeah, nah. You get to sit in a nice warm room.
You say that my feet are fucking freezing because I don't have the heating on.
Oh, luckily this room is the hottest room in the house, especially when I have the PC on, which unfortunately I don't at the moment. But I've got the curtains closed and the door closed, so if I don't move, I won't get cold.
My PC is unfortunately a freezing block until I turn it on to stream later.
Yeah. I'll just boot up Overwatch or something, and it'll just heat the room up nicely.
I must admit, when it was during 2020, when I first built this one, it's like, oh god, it's starting to get nippy. I started just crypto mining just for heat. Like, it made no money. The amount of money, like, I worked it out. It's like, it's costing the same as a little oil heater being in my room, but it's far more effective because it's blowing directly at where I am.
Yeah. It's quite good. I assume that's why the room heats up. Like, it gets to sort of like 10, 11 o'clock, the heating shut off. And admittedly, I'm wearing a big, massive hoodie as well at the time. And I start getting on playing that, we're playing games. Yeah, I got loads. I got two of them over there. There's a grey one and a black one that's like full floor length one that I almost die every time I go down the stairs with. I've hit that age where I was like, I can just put jogging bottoms and a hoodie. Fuck the world. And I'll answer the door and like go and get parcels from outside. I don't give a shit. I realised, like, I used to be like, I don't want to do that. And then I was like, I think it was my partner was like, what? why do you care? And I was like, I don't. That's a really good point. I don't give a shit. Someone's gonna go, oh, look at this man in an hoodie. Great, fuck off.
Now, I'm in the weird mindset. I have to care because if I didn't, I wouldn't get out of bed.
I don't like bed. Bed's boring. I
Bed's
I
where
like
sleep happens. Sleep is great.
I sleep shit. I like doing stuff. I'm one of those people that I like doing things. I can't, when you just sort of sit and chill and do nothing. Can't do it. Impossible.
Right.
Not
I
happening.
My boss, wonderful woman, absolute thing. It gave me the most killer statement of my life, which I've always found hilarious. So, I spent most of the pandemic being laid off. It's kind of funny now.
Oh
She
yeah, you
calls it.
did. I
It'd be
forgot
once
about
every
that.
6 months. There'd be another one. Well, it's happened again. Message put out on the places.
Yeah, that's
She
good.
called it seasonal work.
Yeah, that works.
And it's a deep cut that is fucking hilarious. But the best bit is, it's like every time I survive, like I have a moody bit because, like, obviously, you're when it's been laid off from a job you actually like, which is, to be brutally honest, most of the ones I've been laid off from. I'm like,
Yeah,
sad. I was enjoying working on that stuff. What the hell am I going to do now? You're a bit moody, and then it's like, come back, and you're like, well, what the fuck do I do now? I'm bored.
yeah. So that's why I just do everything. If I get
Uh,
bored, I got bored once and built a purely PHP implementation of Git. Like it can write the files, it can read the files. I got to use PHP's FFI library to hook into C to generate timestamps that use the micro time because you can't do micro time in PHP. So, and then I was like, oh,
and in
cool, this is
JavaScript.
great. And then I just carried on with my life. Like I think I built like 80% of Git feature parity with PHP, just purely PHP, no external libraries. And then was like, oh, that's cool. I want to do some work now. And then it just happened to get a contract and just was like, cool, and put that in a box somewhere. I don't even think I put it on GitHub, to be honest. It might have actually been deleted. It might be on an old MacBook. I like doing stuff.
Right. I don't deal with boredom very well. Everybody in my life is very aware that I don't do boredom very well. The only time I really do what most people classify as boredom, it's I look bored because I'm slack-jaw, but it's because I'm watching something with a subtitle and my brain is kind of checked out, or else it's reading the subtitle and enjoying what's going on the screen. Otherwise, that's actually doing something for my brain. Sorry. Yeah. Oh my, look, you're worse than I. You're worse than me. I think I
I,
can categorically say this.
this machine is absolutely full of things I did. Like I've got a book on AI in games. I taught myself how the theory and the structures and the design patterns behind game development because I don't have a reason for that. I just did. I taught myself C because in the space of taught myself a bit of C in the space of 2 hours because I found a bug in PHP and I couldn't do the thing that I was building while this bug was present. So I taught myself C to fix the bug, and since then I've contributed a bit more to the PHP source code. Uh, like I got bored and was like, oh, we should have this method in this class. Can we add this place in reflection? And they were like, sure, makes sense, great, go. So my favorite one is the most pedantic thing. After they brought out enums, um,
Mm.
it did my head in that the enum messages were inconsistent. It would be an enum cannot have magic methods, and it was what it would say, unless it was the serialize, unserialize, or I think debug info magic methods because they are not the same as magic methods. They are, to us, they look like magic methods, but they're treated separately. They're like the precursor to the way magic methods work. They're described as magic methods, but internally they're treated differently. So you got different exceptions when you used those classes because of implied um, the implied interface, because if you add those methods, it automatically adds serializable interface, same as stringable. And so the enum exception messages were all inconsistent. So I just created a PR to just make them all consistent because it did my head in. And I think it's one of the most pedantic things I've ever done is learn a programming language to make the errors in another programming language more consistent.
God, this is nearly as bad as the inconsistent error exception stuff between the Zen 1.0 framework stuff that became actual standard libraries in PHP 5.4, if I remember correct. Because they were all there's like randomly they were in Japanese.
Yeah. If I tried to fix problems with Zen 1.0, I would rewrite the whole thing.
They did. It's called Zen 2.0.
Exactly. And then I would continue to rewrite it because it's now different. They didn't fix it. It's just
I wonder if Zen still exists. It's been that long since I was a hardcore PHP dev.
Zen framework, I believe, is now Laminus.
Oh, it didn't die.
I think
I always
Laminus
thought that when
is
Symfony became mainstream, it got like essentially Zen was dead.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Zen was weird.
All I can say is
continuation of the Zen framework. Lamination. God damn it. Laminus is a continuation of the Zen framework, and Symfony is magic strings the framework, because the entire thing works almost entirely on magic goddamn strings, and it drives me mad.
I'm not gonna lie, Symfony just gives me the same level of pain as like, here's the meta programming principles from Ruby, but we're doing it in PHP, where we don't have meta programming built into the language.
It's like another time when I was bored, I read through the entirety of the HTTP Foundation Symfony component because I wanted to build my own. So I went and read through all of the ones that are currently there to see which way they do it, and determined they're all fucking wrong. They were all right at one point, but they failed to build upon it. Symfony isn't a modern framework. It's been updated to work with modern things, but it is still at its core a fucking PHP 5.2 framework. Laravel does a really good job of making it modern, but Laravel introduces a little bit too much. Here's some magic and a bucket of opinion, and if you don't do it this way, go fuck yourself. So they need to there's room
to be
for
fair,
more.
Symfony did do something great in the form of like making doctrine essentially an accepted standard. Which, leaning back into like that this is how old of a PHP dev I am and how I haven't really programmed in it since. Like last time, the last major upgrade to a PHP to the language itself before I stopped writing PHP as a job was the spaceship operator, and I just kept losing my shit because I was going spaceship at it.
I like the spaceship operator. It's great.
I've never used it, but that was the last thing that was introduced in a job I was doing PHP for.
Jesus, that was a while ago.
That was 2013.
It's the operator version of the mathematical signum function, except it uses PHP's type conversion to handle it. So you get remarkably inconsistent. I was explaining this to someone lately, and they were like, "I just asked what it did." Like, I was like, "Yes, but no, you need to understand the fundamentals of how this works."
At some point, you're just going to have to accept you're going to have to start working at a university.
It got to the point like, you've known me for years. Stop asking me questions. You know how I'm going to answer the question. Like, stop trying to. I'm not an AI. Stop trying to come up with the best prompt to get me to answer specifically the question that you want. I'm going to answer the question you should be asking, not the question you are asking.
Yeah. Okay, we're coming up on an hour. Do you want to pick one more topic?
Sure. Let's have a look. Let's go on the top. Let's continue with the topic of capitalism and tech billionaires wanting to build a new city in rural California.
When I was compiling this list on Wednesday, pardon?
It says voters may get a say on it. What the fuck does that mean?
As in voters like Californian voters.
Say, no, they can't. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
As in, like, because you have to form like a town charter and all that crap. Like, so Californian residents can actually vote into this because it's going to be in actual like. So there's a huge like for those of you who have not been to the US, specifically California, there is a huge difference between Northern California and Southern California. Like, California is actually a thin but quite long state, so it actually covers multiple like biomes.
Isn't it like
Um,
half the size of the UK, or is it bigger than the UK? I can never
I
remember.
think it's the length of the UK, but it's not quite the same size.
Less of a
And it's
footprint.
like in the top of it, it's all farmland and like the bottom of mountains and like forests, and it's well irrigated. And the south of it is a desert, and I don't know why fucking Los Angeles exists.
Which bit has the oranges? Because that's
I
a
think
big
that's
thing. California's
south
oranges.
because it's all I think that's south, like at the southern bit of Northern California because of irrigation, but also sunny Spanish style climates.
Yeah, there's there's oranges and wine. Californian wine is
Yeah, they have the entire thing
common
called
one as well.
Orange County, which I'm currently watching the OC, so reliving my entire era of that.
Oh my! I've not seen that in years, and I think that might
My
be
guy, it's 20
intentional.
years old.
Jesus, fucking Christ!
Yeah, watching it with my partner, I'm going, fuck.
I was walking to school with my daughter, who's 5 today, and she was singing Fraggle Rock. So I assume Kerry's been watching Fraggle Rock with her. And I was like, where the like, I didn't say where the fuck because we were in her school. I was like, what? Why are you singing Fraggle Rock? And she's like, oh, it's some old cartoon. Mommy showed me. And I was like, oh, it's great. I haven't seen that in. And I was like, oh my God, it's been like 25
30
years.
years.
Since I saw that. And then she was like, how old are you? I was like, oh, I'm 35. Okay. And she's like, is that really old? I was like, no, it's not. Were there dinosaurs? So a common one is back in the 80s when you were born, were there dinosaurs? I'm like, no, it's not that long ago. She was like, there were dinosaurs, weren't there? No, I'm not hiding dinosaurs from you. Were there unicorns? That's a totally different topic. No, they were not dinosaurs in the 80s. And anytime anyone says a very long time ago, she says the 80s. Because to her, that was long ago.
To be fair, children, the innocence of their statements is hilarious. And when I think back 20 years, I'm still thinking about the 80s.
Yeah, that's true. I like the music I listen to on Spotify is almost entirely music from the 80s and early 90s. Mostly
I never
because
evolved from my pop punk phase.
So I like pop punk and emo and that sort of stuff, but there's unfortunately the lead singers of the bands had some proclivities, so I don't listen to those anymore. Lost Prophets was my favourite.
I was about to say we're about to talk about a Welsh band here.
Yeah, they were my favourite band growing up. And then he did.
That's
all
fine.
the
He got
things
stabbed
he did.
recently.
He did for stuff that he did. Yep, and it seems like most of the lead singers of the bands of that type of music have some sort of proclivities that involve other people who are not aware.
Jared for Bowling for Soup, he just got fat. He's the one who gave me my
He's
best
cool,
line
though.
about. He gave me my favorite line about being fat because, ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening to this and have never seen me before, I am a fat bastard. And Austin Powers callback joke there.
See, that's where in editing you need like fat bastard from Austin Powers noise. Oh
fuck. But Jared, when I saw him live just before the pandemic kicked off, and it was one of their tours, and they were touring with Simple Plan, which was the first ever gig I went to in Wolverhampton. I don't even want to say how many years ago. And he went, "Hi, I'm Jared. You may remember me from before." And I ate old Jared to become new Jared. And it's like, I have never been so seen before in my life.
You went to Wolvo on purpose?
Oh no, they were playing in Birmingham. But the gig,
okay.
that first gig, which was Lorna Shore, not Lorna Shore. Yeah, it was old Lorna Shore. Simple Plan and Bowling for Soup was the first ever gig I went to in the Wolverhampton Civic.
I have a choice. Like my partner's from Willenhall, so we'll not talk
Unlucky.
about that. Yeah, I think the first time I went to Wolvo was for do you remember Lug Live, the Linux user group live? I went to that in Wolvo. I was walking down the road with a group of people. Hacker Voice UK, the online thing. I was part of that, and we interviewed Gary McKinnon once. That was fun. And he's quite a cool guy actually. And we were walking up the road, and I was walking up with
just imagine Stuart Langridge just being in the back there going, "Hi."
We walked up, and they were with us, and they're from London, and there was one person from Manchester. And someone from across the road shouted something at us. And I went, "What?" And they went, "Fucking yum yum." And I was like, "What?" And they just did. And I was like, and then everyone was like, "What's a yam yam?" I was like, "We mean somebody from this area," which they were, and I am clearly not. Because I don't have that strong of an accent, and it was
It's
less
stronger
at the
than
time.
mine.
I've spent enough time here and enough time living with a yam yam that the accents have sort of merged. But like back then, I had BBC presenter. Hello, my name's Ollie. Like it was it was that sort of neutral accent, and this person was a yam yam, and it sounded like a threat rather than a like yeah yam yam. And I was like, I'm still confused about what happened on that day. I still
Ladies and gentlemen, just as a reference, yam yam means somebody from the Black Country area of the UK.
and you need to
Including
specify.
Wolverhampton, Dudley, and other areas in that area just north of Birmingham before you get to Staffordshire.
And it is called the Black Country because of the smog from the industrial. It's like a massive industrial area,
Oh,
essentially.
yeah.
Because I have spoken to other people from the UK. They do not. They misunderstand that term, the Black Country. So you need
Well,
to
considering
clarify that's very
that
much a
moniker was
Midlands
given in
term.
the era of Peaky Blinders, that should give a reference to most idiots these days.
Yeah, it's worth explaining because people have been like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "What do you mean?" Not as much what the fuck as when you say yam yam, and they're like, "What the fuck's a yam yam?"
And
They're like
Yam Yam just leaves a face of confusion. The Black Country is like, are you being racist? No, we're just being historically correct.
Yeah, it does sound bad. But for anyone who's curious, the difference is people from Birmingham add U's and A's in words where they don't belong, and people from the Black Country replace almost every consonant with a vowel.
Yep,
So,
and they both speak real slow.
yeah. So when we're at my fiance's family and she's with like her brother and her dad, they all progressively get more and more yam yam. It like bounces back and there's like a feedback loop to the point where I'm just like, me and the 5-year-old are just like, what the fuck is what? Like, A it is the common one.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Kerry has to translate for me where I'm just like, what? Her brother will say something and I'll go, I
Yeah,
have
I'm doing
no
all
idea
right.
what you just said. It's you get used to it, but it's a proper feedback loop, and I think they do it to piss me off sometimes. And she does a really when I'm like, "What's going on?" And she'll go, "What he actually said was he was asking how you were doing today." Fuck off. It's not how I sound, but yeah, that's the difference. It is a common one. Just it'll be who? That's basically it.
But yeah, back onto the original topic because we have gone from billionaires
Yeah,
trying to build a town to literally the outside of Scouse, Mancunian, or Toontown, the most working class area you can friggin' talk about.
I told you when you first said you were looking for guests for the podcast, I can jump topics like a
Yeah,
madman.
I
Jump all
can't,
over
which is
things.
the reason why I'm like, hi, the bar. I like tangents,
Neither
but
can
you are a tangent.
my fiance. For it'll be halfway through a conversation, and she's just doing this, just like hold. She's like, "Okay, how did we get here? Why are we talking about this now?" Where I'll just keep jumping, and then I'll be like, my point was we should make sure the lid's on the peanut butter properly, and then I'll leave the room, and she's like, "What the fuck is happening? What was peanut butter? What?" Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
skill of mine.
But yes, so California Forever, the group behind doing this, and they've got like a whole bunch of people, like friggin' Steve Jobs, ex-wife technically, like investors from all over the place. Friggin' the guy who founded LinkedIn, all that jazz. They've sunk
Is his ex-wife a tech billionaire,
yeah, because
or is she married to a tech billionaire? Those are distinct things.
no, because I'm pretty sure after Jobs went and exited this mortal coil, rich is going to happen regardless.
Yeah, but that doesn't make her a tech billionaire. That makes her a billionaire off the back of tech. Tech billionaire implies that she made her money by being involved in tech, and being married to somebody involved in tech doesn't
I bet
classify in that degree.
all the money from Jobs that went to them is now in a bunch of investment groups in tech.
Yeah, I suppose that's but then she's investing. She's not involved in the tech. It's
Yeah. That's how most freaking
Matrimony,
companies are these days. They're not actually involved in the tech. They just make money off the other people doing it.
Even they're arseholes
Welcome
and
to
they're
most
wrong.
CEOs I know.
It's why we should let them build a city and then put them all in it. That
But
way,
yeah,
if
they've
we ever
spent.
decide we don't need them, we know where they are.
You've probably not read far enough down the document. They've already
Yeah, I
spent
have.
$1 billion acquiring the grounds to do it.
Yeah.
Off the Air Force and private landowners. And I'm like, to even start the project, you've done $1 billion. And what's going to happen when they say no? You're not going to be able to sell it for the same value.
Oh, absolutely. They'll
They've
sell it back to the
nuked it.
US government. They'll wait. They'll hope that the Republicans get in and sell it back to them and make a lot of money.
Oh, that makes me sad. I thought we weren't talking about geopolitics.
That's not geopolitics. It's like some weird playground game that America dresses up like politics. It's totally different.
But yeah,
it'll
it's
be
1 billion to build this thing, and they're gonna they're removing a whole bunch of the arable land from Northern California, which happens to feed most of California and places like New Mexico and Nevada, including providing the water for Vegas. Because here's an interesting fact for you: know that every liter of water that goes into Vegas comes out of Vegas cleaner than it went in.
I don't believe there's a single thing that goes into Vegas and comes out cleaner than it is. There's
You mean other
nothing
than the
that I've
money?
heard about. There's nothing I've heard about Vegas. Okay, the money, everything I've heard about the people are not coming out cleaner is just the
Oh,
general
absolutely no. The
world
people,
view
no,
of
but
Vegas. The
because of
water.
the requirements to operate for Vegas, there's a whole bunch of rules about how much water can be used, and these rules predate Vegas being what Vegas is now. Vegas has specifically Vegas and the Reno area has the highest concentration of desalination plants and all this stuff to clean water, so that every piece they take from, I think it's the Colorado River, and from Northern California they stream in, and it has to be added back to the rivers, so it has to be completely cleaned of all references to humans, and that means that the cleanest water comes from Vegas, because they have to chemically and mechanically treat it to do so. Because those laws were set in 1912 or something when they were creating the viaducts to feed it.
I did not know that. That's actually quite interesting.
It
I
is
can't wait to slip that in a random conversation with my fiance later on.
Oh God, I have fed the beast.
Come from? That's why we're talking about Vegas. That's actually quite interesting.
You can
I
blame
find it
some of
interesting at least.
you could blame some of the rabbit holes that I've gone down in YouTube. Simon Whistler should not be allowed to educate me.
The Wikipedia ones are my favourite ones. We just start reading about stuff and just I did not know that. That's maybe there'll be a question in a pub quiz or a trivia game in the future.
Oh God, people assume I'm going to be great at pub quiz. I'm terrible, absolutely fucking terrible.
Yeah, I know all of the answers, but I can't bring them up when you give me the questions. I can only bring them up in the middle of completely unrelated. That's how my brain works. It's RAM rather than ROM. I just randomly get facts that need to be shared with people.
Oh no, mine's like spinning Rust. It's there. It'll just take me a freaking while to get to it, and it will run out of time before it's found it.
I have to just jump between things to form pathways to find the final thing, and they always make I'm not very good at remembering names. I can't remember the names of things or the names of people, so I will describe it. I remember things based on categorizations, and they are always, I have learned, ridiculous. And one of the biggest banes of my best friend's life and my fiance's life is that I will describe a thing in the most unhinged way, and they'll immediately be able to go, oh, and then know exactly what it is. And then they have to sit and reflect upon themselves that they understood that for a while.
Oh, good gravy. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Anyway,
Look, they did shady stuff to get some of the land. That's a surprise.
That's why I was bringing it up. They've already spent the money. They've had to go through some questionable choices for acquiring it.
Yeah, illegal price fixing conspiracy.
Uh-huh.
That's unlike billionaires. Billionaires are very morally correct. That's why they have all of their money. Why would they have all of their money if they were bastards?
History has taught us nothing.
Yeah, it's sad. People with Money equals bastards.
But yeah, you're right. Okay. We are at the time because at some point I have to finish my lunch hour and get back to some work because I've got a meeting in 40 minutes that I need to eat food beforehand because otherwise they get angry me because hangry me is
Yeah.
a thing.
You don't want to do that. I don't even know.
No.
Oh, I've got to walk the dog. Oh, it's
But
mocking.
okay,
It's
it is that time
-3.
where Ollie, you got the moment at the beginning where you got to introduce yourself. Now you get to haul yourself out to the internet.
I get to okay, you're gonna need to be way more specific. If you're
Okay,
giving me
time
enough
to
rope to hang you with, give me more
plug all the
information.
things that you would like to plug. Like, I'm pretty sure you don't want to plug the Multitenancy because that's still years off happening from the sounds of it.
It's not years off happening. It is happening. It's happening a lot quicker now. So, you, I'm talking directly to you. Basically, just go on Twitter, look at Ollie Reid. I tweet about all of the things. I'm working on a fully fledged, ridiculously feature-rich multi-tenancy package that's going to prove Mike wrong in so many different ways. And I'm writing a course. I am sharing some of the theory as we go. I did a particular tweet that I enjoyed doing about the hyphenation of multi-tenancy and the correct usage. I was going to do one about the etymology, but that seemed a bit too off topic. It's also very interesting. So I would find me on Twitter. I talk about the stuff. I've got a new olliereid.com coming up. I'm working on the multi-tenancy course. I have got a bit sidetracked and wrote the start of a bunch of other things. Definitive guide to Laravel root parameters, building a consumable API with Laravel, a complete guide to reflection in PHP, and a whole bunch of other things. The best thing to do is just I jump between things and tweet about it. The only reason I'm creating courses is to sell is so I can do it all the time, but I like sharing information. So just anywhere where you see Ollie Reid, one word, is me. I'm probably going to regret saying that because someone's going to find a place where I don't have that username. Except YouTube. YouTube, it's Ollie Codes. But yeah, so that's it. Find me on the internet. I do shit.
Can confirm if you're not already following Ollie, it is either unhinged or hilarious. There's occasionally it's unhinged and hilarious, but yes, occasionally
And
I find it
informative.
informative.
Yeah, it can also be informative.
I'm just going to make your day. How about here?
So you
Are you
say
going to do a
this.
Linus Tech Tips?
So I legitimately considered creating an OnlyFans where I review the dirtiest, most horrible codes you've ever seen in your goddamn life.
Okay,
And
that's a
balance
fetish
it
and a
out,
half.
and then sort of balance it out by creating sort of the nicest, sexiest, most fluent code you can do. But I didn't have the time. People were like, "You're not worried? Like, if your family just see that you've got an OnlyFans?" Oh, I don't give a shit. People, if my family see my name associated with OnlyFans and don't immediately go, "Nope," and just close that window, then fuck them. I could genuinely consider doing it. I might actually do it because it would be quite funny. It would be a weird thing.
Okay.
Conversation starter, wouldn't it?
Right. Other than finding you on the internet, is there anywhere that people can find you in the real world afterwards? Because even though you don't do much real world stuff these days.
Not at the moment, no. I'm looking at Laravel Live. I might be going to that because it's just before my birthday in June. Time consuming. If you see somebody who looks like a programmer talking to squirrels or ducks somewhere in the general Birmingham area, it's probably me.
That could be
The
me
best.
as well.
If you're at the Edgbaston Reservoir and someone's arguing with a goose, with a
That's
corgi,
definitely me. I spend enough time in Canada that I feel brave enough to be able to have that fight.
I slapped a goose the other day. It got really up to me and it opened its wings. And I just went, no, just flicked its head, and then it just followed me. Not aggressively, was just like, oh, you are in charge now. And then just followed me for some of the reservoir. I was feeding it. It's great fun.
I must admit, I took the canal route down to Innovation Birmingham for a walk last Christmas, and I had a goose square up to me and all I could think of was going, "It's saying bro." In goose language, it's saying bro at me over and over again.
They hiss.
Oh god.
But I might be going as an attendee to Laravel Live. I am not. I don't know why I'm not particularly comfortable with doing conferences as a speaker. I don't know why. I like this. I like the back and forth. I like the conversation. I would like being able to do a stream and talk to people. And there's something about being on the stage. It's not a conversation. You're talking at somebody, and as much as it sometimes may feel like that when talking to me, do you know what I mean? I like the the back and forth. It makes me uncomfortable. And also,
That's
I'll
fine.
say
That's
something
what
fucking stupid.
that's what I do for a living.
But not at conferences on stage, do you?
Last year, I went
Okay.
to a conference called Dev Talks in Bucharest. I literally fell into the TV behind me.
That's not saying something stupid. That's lack of spatial awareness. That's a
Oh
totally
no! I
different
then
problem.
just started spending the rest of the talk mentioning my butt because it hurt, and I couldn't not think about the fact that it hurt.
That's
When that gets put onto the internet, I will share it with you so you can see how stupid it was.
Did it break the TV?
No, but I did punch it, and I scared the living shit out of myself doing so. But yes, anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for those who are listening to this on the internet. Thank you for letting me drag you into this, Ollie.
That's fine. I'm more than happy to do it. If you ever need anyone else to talk nonsense and drag you on a journey through 35 vaguely, tenuously related topics, let me know.
You have been a worthy replacement to Grumpy Brummy.
I don't think I'm a grumpy person. I'm quite a ecstatic.
Jovial.
No, not ecstatic. Jovial, yeah, bouncy. Just short of nauseously and obnoxiously bouncy. Just right below that limit, I hope.
We hope. But yes, thank you very much, and we'll see you everybody else on the internet elsewhere. Goodbye.
Thank you for having me. Bye bye.